No, that's great. Good. All right. We'll jump right in. So for the record, today, this is a regular meeting of the Board of Finance. Today is Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. Participating this evening in the City Hall auditorium are Ms. Pesky, Mr. Wright, and participating via Zoom are Christopher Anderson and Chris Bayes. Item 1 on the agenda, actually, I did this last night too. Could we please stand and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, item 1 on the agenda is a vote to open the meeting to the public. There is nobody from the public here, but just to follow the agenda, I'll take the motion. So moved. Thank you, Ms. Pesky. Seconded by, was that Mr. Anderson? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I'll call. We'll move into item 2, and I'll do this in 3 bites. 2A, I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 19th, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bayes. Questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention would be Mr. Anderson. Item 2B, I'll entertain a motion to accept the joint meeting minutes from April 26, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Pesky. I'll call that motion if there are no questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
So on the record would be an abstention for Mr. Wright and Mr. Anderson. Items 2C, I'll entertain a motion to accept the public hearing minutes from April 26, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
I heard Ms. Pesky.
Can you move a motion when you're not there? Okay.
Questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any and abstentions, Mr. Wright? And Mr. Anderson, right? Yes, I see your hand raised. Even without my glasses on. Item 3, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the budget amendment requests with an adjustment being made to the approved January 3rd, 2022 budget modifications to accomplish the 0 mill rate increase for fiscal year 21-22. The memo, the adjustments are contained in the city controller's memo dated May 2, 2022, which has already been approved by the city council at its May 2, 2022 meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
And seconded by Mr. Bayes. And the floor is open for questions.
I think the only thing, Mayor, I had a question on is we started the reduction to copier cost per IT schedule. I don't know if that was started especially for a reason or.
I know, I'm sorry, you didn't come through very clearly. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, barely.
The reduction in copier costs was like circled and starred. So I was curious what that was for.
Yes, so Robin will answer the question for you.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, that's just, I was just making a note at the entry that I was changing. So I want to reverse what was originally approved in January and make a change to that because we didn't find the savings that we originally thought we were going to have in those line items.
So you had to find it someplace else?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was curious why that was. Obviously it stood out with the circle and stars. So
Yes, that's the one that's changing.
do you know what we reduced to make that whole?
We have a line item outside duty that had $20,000 budgeted in it. I believe it was the FICA line.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry.
That's what your memo says.
So we're going to use that instead.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on the memo or the recommendation?
No, I think, Mayor, we've seen this list a few times now, so obviously
I'm sorry.
we always, give our 2 cents on, hoping to not see that city real estate, be cut so much, but we know that it is what it is, and yeah. Other than that, nothing.
I feel like the third or fourth time you've seen the same list, you kind of know it by heart. So those things need fewer explanations. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll call this motion. All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, I will entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
second.
Seconded by Mr. Bayes. All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Anything else this evening, Robin? Nothing? Anything from city clerk's office? All right, we'll move into item 5. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by mayor and members.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Pesky.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Starting on the screen, anything this evening, Mr. Anderson?
Nothing to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Bayes?
No, Mayor, I know that in budget subcommittee, we kind of got a version of that big sheet that we usually get around this time of year. I'm not sure if you're going to send an updated one out of those and when we should expect that.
So, yes, that I think Mr. Anderson coined it as the big, beautiful spreadsheet. We are still working on that. We're still crunching the revised revenue numbers based on legislative action in the last session. And we do have a joint meeting on, it's Monday, right, Heather?
Yeah, I
On
think
Monday
it's the
for the Board of
26th,
Finance
yeah.
and City Council. So I think once we have that meeting, Robin and I can then pull that sheet together and send it to you enough in advance of the meeting on the 31st, which would be the mill rate setting meeting, presumably.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Ms. Pesky
Nothing, thank you, Mayor.
and Mr. Wright.
I won't buck a trend.
Okay, well, I will. So I'll email to the members that are participating via Zoom, but I did have for the members this evening, just a little recap of the impact that some of the new legislative actions have on the city. In particular, it is the motor vehicle mill rate cap that does impact our revenue for the fiscal year 2023, the budget that we're all working on for adoption. Martin Heft sent out this week a small draft of how to calculate the impact of that mill rate. In his narrative, he states, beginning on fiscal year 23, grants to the municipalities are going to be calculated using the bill, the legislative bills, 32.46 mill rate cap, and the preceding fiscal year's tax levy data. And I stress preceding because that means we are not using the current grand list, which we base all of our tax revenue on. But we are required by this bill to use last year's grand list or tax levy. As you know, when you saw the grand list information come out recently, the motor vehicle grand list grew exponentially. It was in excess of 25%. So as a result of the decision to utilize the prior year's tax levy, I did, and utilizing Mr. Heft's methodology for calculating the amount the state would be sending to the municipalities to keep them whole on the preceding year's tax levy, I did attach a chart to show you what our actual revenue loss is And again, I stress, the state is keeping the municipality whole to last year's grand list, but not whole to this year's grand list. So I did exactly what Mr. Heff recommended we do. The state imposed cap on motor vehicle tax levy for fiscal year 2022, which shows a mill rate gap of 13.71 from the 46.17 to the 32.46. And the results of that on the preceding year is a $3,545,173 grant. And they're calling this the Municipal Transition Grant. So the transition grant that we will be receiving from the state is going to be that $3,545,173. And actually, when they sent us their revenue projections, there's a $90,000 difference in our favor. So there's a little light at the end of that tunnel. Then I did the exact same thing, utilizing the cap if it were calculated on the current grand list, which goes into effect to offset the expenses for the 2023 fiscal year. And you would see that utilizing again the loss of 13.71 mil on the assessed value of the motor vehicles and our motor vehicle supplemental, and the amount that we would have received had they elected to utilize this the grand list year for the fiscal year 2023 would have been in excess of $4.6 million. So the grand total loss of revenue is $1.1 million, which is pretty darn close to a mill, give or take a couple $100,000.
Do you have any sense of what the logic was on that action?
Yes, yeah. So, and Representative Cook did take my calls, and she did do some research for us. So what happens with all of these taxes is the tax assessor does the grand list work, files an M13 disclosing to the state what the results were of the grand list work. A year later, the tax collector closes that loop and files a Form M1 with the state, disclosing all of the adds and deletes that happen during the year with motor vehicles. Somebody sells a car after October 1st, buys another car after January 1st. So all these add and deletes happen. So there's the M13, which reflects the grand list, which we normally calculate our revenue on. And then there's the M1 that reports how did the taxes actually shake out. Because there's that, 10-month, 12-month gap. The state said, look, we're going to make you whole based on verified information, which is the M1.
Yeah.
And that's the reason they're really doing this on a year past. Now, one would hope that next year the state continues the practice of using that M1 data, in which case we'll see this uptick in next year's municipal transition grant. However, in all of the municipalities, I was at a CCM meeting and at a COG meeting, and we're all saying the same thing. The thought process is that the state will be looking to ease out of this municipal transition grant, and over a period of time, continue to provide less grant funds to keep us whole. So I'm not telling, all of you have been here, you've seen this, before, you've heard this before. What happens when you lose $1 million in taxable assets or tax revenue on taxable assets is that burden then shifts to what remains a taxable asset. So here this year, what we will see is that there will be, the good news is our motor vehicle property owners will see a pretty significant drop in their taxes and their car taxes. However, We now have to look to the real estate and the businesses to fill that gap. And I'm setting the stage here to what is going to happen over the next 2 weeks. This undeniably is going to impact taxes on real estate and personal property. And our budget subcommittee did yeoman's work. I mean, it is always tough, especially for a small group that's sitting in a room with a department head, you know, shoulder to shoulder and looking them in the eye as they're defending their request for what they need, but also being hyper focused on what is this going to do? How is this going to impact our taxpayers? So through that budget subcommittee process, I communicated back to the department heads where the subcommittee wished us to fall, you know, on the first level, level 2. And our budget subcommittee and our department heads have already affected about $3 million in cuts to the department head requests. However, that doesn't bring us to a 0 mill rate increase. And we haven't even broached the subject of the Board of Education because the budget subcommittee is just a city board, not a board of over all the budgets. So the work that you'll see coming from me over the next 7 to 10 days is going to be a reflection on, you know, what the reality we're dealing with this motor vehicle mill rate cap. The blessing is, yes, people are going to pay less on their cars, but yes, we're going to have to find a way to fill that gap. So that is the first bit of information. And not only do I provide Mr. Heff's memo with the methodology for calculating the amount of the municipal transition grant, and then our calculation and the impact to the city. But I also provided the M1 document that was prepared by our tax collector, just so that you can verify the numbers in our calculation. The other document that I am sharing with you this evening is a school and state finance project white paper, if you will, that explains the Alliance District program and some of the budget adjustments that were contained in Governor Lamont's proposed budget. And you'll see this one was dated February 24th, 2022. But the reason I liked this document is it really, in plain language, explains to the boards how the Alliance grants work. This board is well aware that the state gives us a revenue number when they adopt their budget, and that revenue number is somewhere around 28 million. But the fact of the matter is the city only receives 23,900,000 something, because we were frozen at that 2013 ECS number, and the additional appropriations get paid directly to the Board of Education for implementation of programs and strategies to get them out of the designation of an Alliance district. I think there for a very long time was a misunderstanding that once they're no longer an Alliance district, that those monies disappear. They don't. Those monies are still ECS funds, and the exit out of an Alliance district status happens incrementally over a 4-year period of time, where those Alliance district grant funds get moved over to the city's general fund. And any of those Alliance district strategies, expenses that are budgeted outside of the operating budget also come into the regular operating budget. So over the last 4 years, we've seen this year, the Alliance district bump is another $1,084,000 and change. So there's a total of about $5 million of the ECS money that gets paid directly to the Board of Education. And when they exit that Alliance district status over that 4-year period of time, you know, 75% of it stays in the alliance, 25% comes back to the city. We anticipate 25% of the programs that are being funded by the Alliance District Grant also show up in the operating budget. And the reason I want to take a little time and say this and discuss this is right now their budget request is 82 million. Let's just say over the next 4 years, let's say they've hit all the benchmarks that the state set for them, and they start the exit strategy. In year 4, that budget will be 87 million. And that becomes a new MBR, and that becomes the operating budget on our tax rolls. But with that $87 million budget, if all things stayed level between now and the 5th year, the additional $5 million in revenue comes back to our general fund. Have I made that clear?
Mhm.
And if not, this document does make it much clearer. So last year, you will recall, I think there were a lot of very unhappy board members because I was utilizing that $1 million bump they got last year in Alliance to justify budget adoption. And I know that it did not set well, but in light of where we are with our grand list and where we are with the motor vehicle mill rate cap and where the Board of Education is with another $1 million bump, I don't want anyone to be surprised on the board when we utilize that strategy again, recognizing that that $1 million will eventually come back into our regular operating, both revenue and expense. Questions on that? Comments?
Why did you say that their budget would go up to 87 million? Because we're doing roads now.
No. So what happens is in their budget presentation, this board heard the request was $82 million for operating. That doesn't include any of the Alliance District expenses. That $82 million is what they budget in the operating. The other $5 million is a grant that gets paid outside of the general fund directly to the Board of Education. And with all due respect, I mean, they have to answer to the state for that $5 million. You know, the state says, you show us what you're going to do with the money and how are those strategies going to get you better test scores, better attendance, better engagement. So this document then, and because I heard it a number of times over the first couple of years being Alliance District, yeah, but when this grant goes away, we have a cliff. They don't have a cliff. That revenue gets restored to the general fund and those expenses get absorbed into the operating budget. And that's why I'm saying 82 today with $5 million in Alliance means in 4 years, if everything were going according to, successfully according to their plans, in 5 years, this could be an $87 million operating budget. So again, I'm setting the stage for some of the information and strategies I'll be bringing forward to the Board of Finance. And I don't know if there are questions.
Not too many just yet, but I do appreciate the heads up, as it were.
Okay. All right. If there are no questions and I'm done. Oh, I will also share with you, just on a lighter note, I had a great tour of the Penrose housing development over on Franklin Street. They are about 75% complete.
How much?
75%. There are apartments that the floor is in, the cabinets are in, appliances are sitting, ready to be connected. They believe by July they will be 100% complete, and they have already opened up inquiries for lease applications. There are 60 apartments in this building. The first week they opened up the email for parties to register. They received 440 requests. And I can tell you it is, as we finalize work on our affordable housing plan that the state mandated, I think that information verifies the information that we're finding in our affordable housing plan that the state required.
Mayor, is it restricted to people who are residents of Torrington currently?
It is not. It is not.
So they can, and what's going to be the criteria to winnow it down from 440 to 60?
First come, first serve. So just signing up in the email doesn't make you first come. You know, that's just here is our email. If you're interested in receiving a lease package, send us pre-register so that we can let you know when the lease period opens. That lease period won't open until they have a CO. The lease application process is, from what I understand, it takes anywhere from 30 days to 90 days to complete because income verification has to occur. So there is quite a bit of work, and if they open the lease period in July or August, their goal is to get occupancy for December. So no, it isn't restricted to Torrington residents. The first 12 apartments are already locked down. Lark locked those apartments down, working with the city, working with the developer, working with DSS. Those are supportive housing units for working adults with intellectual disabilities. In fact, Lark will also have an office in this building, in the suite of offices where the management offices occur. So those supportive housing fulfill the requirement for the Section 8 vouchers. So there are no Section 8 vouchers available for tenants. They've already been locked down for Lark. And I will tell you, because the DSS commissioner and deputy commissioner both were on tour, they were both there for the groundbreaking. They could not have been more complimentary of what the city has accomplished with this great opportunity for housing for those individuals. But they also were blown away with the location, how walkable this is for their clientele, and that the housing, the apartments that they will be living in, you will not be able to differentiate their housing from the market rate housing, because it's the same appliances, it's the same cabinets, it's the same flooring. You know, it's all indiscriminate. And that actually does make me very proud that anybody.
And
Right.
will they be?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. You know, whether they're dispersed among the floors or if there's a certain area. Yeah, I would think they'd have to be. It's mainstream.
But I hope, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I will tell you, I took some photographs because they toured us through the first floor, second floor, and then took us to the fourth floor. And the southeast corner of the building, where the windows form the corner of the building, and you're overlooking the river, part of Fusage Park, and the Nidec site is just incredible. The views are incredible. And then on the southwest side, the same situation with those corner apartments. It perfectly framed the Danielle mural on the back of the shopping plaza. And you see the river looking west.
Speaking of the mural, can we get murals the rest of the back of the shopping center?
That shopping center, from what I understand, is under contract to be sold. I welcome an opportunity when property
Yeah.
transfers. Yes, depending on what they plan on doing. I don't know if they're going to redesign or, but yes, we would love to see additional mural work on there. But this is, honestly, this is housing that I think everybody should be extremely proud of. It is much needed, healthy housing that, and I had this conversation so many times, that provides feet on the street in the core downtown area. You know, that when I stood in the lobby of this building and I'm looking out the lobby doors and I am staring right at Sawyer's and I am thinking, how convenient is it for somebody who comes home from work, you know, drops off their stuff in the apartment, you know, puts on their, you know, shorts and sundress and or sundress and goes across the street to grab a burger and a brew. Or in the morning before they go to work, just walk down to the coffee house, you know, and grab a cup of coffee. Or, you know, yeah, crumbs, the nutmeg candy store, the ice cream store across the street. This Main Street now becomes their playground. It becomes the place that they go for a show on the weekend, to see the artwork at the gallery, or to take their kids to kids play without ever having to get in a car to do so. And we already have a strategy to try to collect the data that shows how this housing increased the economic conditions on Main Street. And we are now working with our businesses to start tracking that data. So that's the good note I wanted to end on. And if there are no questions for me, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
Second.
I heard Mr. Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all. I'll see you next week.